All right, so hey guys, today we're trying something new, and that's why we're in a new space for you guys. This is basically our living room, and the reason why I want to do that because today I want to try something new. So you see, I bought this roll. I'll be explaining a few things, and we're also filming it from the top down, so you'll be able to see exactly what I mean with some description and with some drawings. I'm not an artist, so don't take it against me, but the stuff that I will be showing you will make sense because it's easy to do, and I don't need to be an artist to do it.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivo. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a business growth specialist. Just in the past 3 years, I've managed to help a fintech company go up market and start selling at a 5K price point. After 9 months, they had a successful 9-figure exit. I've helped a manufacturing brand develop and launch their direct-to-consumer strategy and e-commerce platform. And overnight, they saw a 7% increase in revenue and a 15% increase in their bottom line because direct-to-consumer is much more lucrative. I've also helped a SaaS business that had been stagnant, growing 100% year on year, and then stagnated for 6 months and was flat. Start growing again. I came in, I saw that they needed to be aligned. We put into place sales and retention playbooks and aligned everything with product. And for the next 6 months, the company grew 40%, and we had another successful exit after 6 months after that. Just to name a few. So across all of these companies and my previous experiences with my own startups, cash flow has been the thing that helped me understand where money is leaking and where we're making money and which specific levers help you grow the business. That's why we made Smoothin, which is an automated tool that gets into your bank account, gets your bank statement, or you can just upload your bank statement, and with it you get specific insights into what money came in, when, what was the amount, so you know which customers are good customers, which customers are late payers, and which expenses have ballooned, where can you make savings, and you should be going over these things on a regular basis, and I'll be showing you, my task is to show you how to do that on this channel, plus to provide you the tools so you can make your business more profitable every single month. That's why we're here, that's why we're doing this. So come on and join the community.
So today we're going over specifically cash flow gaps and how you can avoid them. So this is the third part in our series where we're going over cash flow gaps, what you can do about them, what they are, and now we're doing it on terms of how to avoid them, right? So first things first, apart from, keeping a nice buffer in your bank account and having profit from which you can pay off debt or you can pay in advance for suppliers or for any other expense that you have, which is always a good idea. Having a rainy day fund and just having some reserves is great, but today we're going over 4 other things that you should be doing that will help your business and that will help you forecast into the future, grow your business, and know exactly where you're standing. So, number 1 is create an incoming payment calendar. Okay, very simple, but very few companies do this, and I still don't understand why. So what you need to do is basically map out all your monthly, all of your quarterly, all of your biannual, and all of your annual customers and the dates when they need to pay you. Okay? What you will do then is very simple. You map out the next 12 months. So that's 1, 2. Okay, I ran out a little bit, but I think you'll get the point. So let's say you have Jan, and in Jan you need to know exactly how much money is coming in from your monthlies, from your quarterlies, from your biannuals, and from your annuals. And then you have the total. Let's say for this exercise, it's 100K expected in January. Okay? Now you do this across all of your months. You do this across your 12 months, and basically you know exactly when you have how much cash coming in, and then you can forecast out on when money needs to go out, how much money needs to go out, how much money is in risk, and where maybe you have peak seasons, where maybe you have ups and downs, so on and so forth, especially if you have annual payments and you have monthly payments. The annual payments are great to have because it's a nice amount of cash, but it also means that you're not going to see any money from that customer for the next 12 months, which leaves you a little bit vulnerable. And you need to manage that, especially if there's costs associated specifically to those annual customers. And if you're going to be amortizing part of your costs, for that period, then you need to know, you got, let's say, 50K in from that one customer because they paid annually in January. But if there's expenses that are mapped out for, let's say, 30,000 for that customer across these months, then you better reserve that cash for that customer, right? So it's a good understanding and a good way for you to know when money's coming in, and then you have a good oversight and a good understanding of when you'll have crunch times and when you might hit some trouble, okay? Number two is basically very closely connected to your income, which is try to get as many customers to pay you up front instead of being post-pay. What does that change? That flips the whole scenario around. So instead of people owning you money, you will be owning them services or products, which is a much better way of working, because then you know exactly what you're working for because you've received your money already up front. Whereas with the other ones, you might have already sent the product, you might have already pardon me, you might have already made the service or provided the service, and they haven't paid, right? Which means there's a sunken cost in there for you. If it's a service, then you've probably paid expenses, wages to somebody who's done that product, who's done the service for them. If there's products, depending on what kind of products have amortization, products have a shelf life, all of these kind of things. So if you're not going to get money from them and you can't get the produce back, for example, because its life expectancy is finished, then you're in a double whammy, right? So keep an eye out for these things and try to get many people to pay up front. Now, granted, not everybody wants to pay up front, so there are some things that you can do. Try looking at a premium service. Try adding some extra things on top for the people that can pay you up front. And if it's, for example, a service, maybe you give a premium queue, or you can take a lot of ideas from either the other industries that are out there, airplanes, tickets, all of these kind of things. There's a reason why these things repeat. It's because people are willing to pay for some things up front if they get the service that they want, right? So being counted up at the front of the queue instead of being pushed back to the back of the queue, that's always been a big thing for whoever you are. It doesn't matter, but time and speed is costly, so people pay additional money for that. Then you can have also other premium services, so like a better packaged service or an expanded service, or something that that people will value and that they will be willing to pay up front, and then they go and they do it, right? So try to get as many people to pay up front. That way you have a calendar of who you owe to do stuff for, rather than you having a calendar like this where you're chasing payments and you have people doing that for you, okay? So number three is actually the opposite of this, which is create a calendar for your expenses as well. And then you can actually either put it on top of this, or you can put it side by side. But then if you have this, you have income, and here you do the same for expenses. Then you will know how many suppliers you have for monthly, quarterly, biannual, annual payments. And guess what? Then you know the totals as well, again. And if your total is, let's say, 110K, then you know that you're going to be in a downturn here, right? You're going to have to find money to cover these costs, okay? Now, why do you do this? Because if you map these two things together from the calendar, you understand, in general, if there are any months where you have a minus, okay? Now, if you do have months where you're in a minus, Might not be scary if you're investing and you know that it's to sustain growth in the future. But if it's not, and you have a stable business that's growing, yes, it's growing, but it's not you're not investing a lot of money and time into super growth. You're growing by word of mouth, by a small marketing campaign, and these kind of things, and that's absolutely fine. You should maybe look at, if you have months where you have forecasted that you will have less cash coming in than cash going out, maybe you need to revisit the expenses either for that month or for that category. And maybe sometimes it's better to change annual payments to monthly payments, because some months, especially if you're a very seasonal business, guess what? A lot of the tools, you can switch them off for a few months and nothing happens. And having the flexibility of turning things on and off whenever you need to is a superpower, especially in a downturn or in a cash crunch situation, right? So instead of having that situation, you know exactly how much money is coming in which month. You can forecast that out. And by the way, don't forecast in this, non-customers or expected growth. This is actually just purely based on your existing customers, right? And if this is positive based on existing customers and the existing contracts that you have, you're pretty golden. You can then invest in the other areas that you need to grow the business further. Or if you see that you have months where you have shortcomings, you can either revisit your expenses or you can revisit the payment terms of those expenses and switch from an annual expense to a monthly expense. Now, I keep on going on about that, and let me explain why I'm a big proponent of that, okay? So, the reason I'm a big proponent of going against annual subscriptions is very simple. So, let's say you map out 12 months, right? So what? That's month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we map it out like that. Okay. Now, if you have something that's monthly, what you can do is you can say, hey, you know what? Like January and February are low months for me. March, I'm only kicking off somewhere in mid-March. So I need to pay with it here. So I can start paying for whatever service or tool it is that I need in the middle of the March. And then you know that, from October onwards or from November onwards, it's also not loan season. So you're going to switch it off in mid-November, and you're not going to use it in the entire month of December, January, February. Okay. So that means you've actually got, and it's mid-March, it's mid-November that you got, you've basically actually saved yourself 4 full months of costs. Now, 4 full months out of 12 months is 30%. Okay? Now, granted, some SaaS businesses give a 30% discount just purely because of that, because they understand their customers that need the discount because there'll be a couple of months in the year when they're not going to be using the tool or something like that. But also it's an incentive for you to pay them up front, and they don't have to, chase you every single month to pay them again. But having this flexibility also gives you another thing. Like if you just have that payment, and if you'd have that, let's say, compare that to an annual, yeah? If you got to pay for an annual, and for whatever reason, usually we buy stuff when it's low season for us because we have time to look into things and we have time to visit tools that we're doing. Maybe there's something new and we revisit everything. What if you bought it in, let's say, December or January, okay? Now, if you bought it here, that means in a low month, that is a low month for you, because this is like low season for you, you have an annual bill waiting for you. So it's every single time, like in the worst situation that you're in terms of cash flow, you have an annual payment. That's very hard for you then to kind of forecast. You're going to have to also reserve that money that's going to be sitting in the bank based on the other 12 months, right? Because unless you have everybody also paying you annually, but even if you have everybody paying you annually, you're going month to month to month to month. So you need to save up basically this amount of whatever it is. Let's say 50K. Okay. So if you have to save that up and you have to pay it in a low season month, that's really, really tough for any business from a cash flow perspective. Okay. So keep that in mind and look over your expenses and see like which categories need to be revisited once in a while, which categories are actually good, and the payment terms are great for your business and good for you. Number 4, and the last point that I want to talk about is actually payment terms and looking at how your expense categories will scale as you scale. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say I'll share 2 anecdotes for you guys today. One is a CRM system. So the mistake that I had once was that our CRM was based for consumers, and it was used for keeping communications with existing customers. Which was fine because, while we were getting existing customers, we had 400 of them. And we chose HubSpot as our CRM, which basically took $1 per contact. But our lifetime value for a customer was 500. So we know we were happy to pay for every customer $12 per year, right? So $12 to service a $500 customer makes a lot of sense, right? Now, what happened was that we had a marketing person come in. They decided to do something different with marketing, and namely that was to put in cold lists, so non-customers, into the CRM. But nobody told her, and nobody had the conversation of what is this going to do to the CRM. They just looked at the possibilities. Can we do that? Yes, we can. We can set up different lists. We can do whatever. HubSpot will gladly give you whatever service that you want, right? And what happened was that the next month, once we got the new marketing person in, we had non-customers. And these were people that, we had met during trade shows, during events, where we were shipping out products and they were registering for other products that hadn't come on yet. But, these are all kinds of non-customer activities that we had active. And basically, the list that we had was just over 33,000 contacts on that list. And basically what happened the next month was that our HubSpot went from 400 to 33K plus. So we got a bill of 33K plus to service customers that give us zero money. Okay? So needless to say, a big hit. Like, we need over 1,500 customers to cover that cost. But we understood also at the same time that means we need to kind of revisit all the systems that we're using, the way that we're using them, and understand what it means when we're scaling and how we're approaching the market, what that means also to our expenses. And not a lot of people will do that, and it's up for the business owner to know that. It's actually a very good idea to have a list of companies and of services that you're using where you know that there can be some risks, so that people just keep that in mind and they say, like, okay, if we want to change something, we need to look at what are the payment terms, is this going to increase it or not? Another system that I'm happy to share with you, and another anecdote, is, seat-based tools. So for example, in another company where I was working, we had 1,000 people in the P&T teams, so product and tech. And we were using Miro board for product and tech. And basically we had 1,000 people that were in the P&T. But we only had about between 80 to 100 who actually were using the Miro board. Everybody else just needed to have a kind of like access so that they can view stuff. And the way procurement had negotiated this was basically that they said, well, we need access for all the 1,000 people, and they basically bought a seat for all 1,000 people. So, and we were paying like $10 per month, so it was 10K per month for, 90% of our people not using it. Okay, but of course, again, Miro will gladly take our money because there's no usage, there's no cost for them, and they just this is free money basically. This is a free profit. So what you need to know also, and what you need to keep an eye on, is exactly how these things work. And some companies have, and some tools have a view seat. Other ones don't offer that. It's like either a full seat or a nothing seat. Like sometimes these things are confusing, and they're confusing probably on purpose so that it's hard for you to understand everything and how the price is going to scale and what type of bills you're going to get at the end of the month based on usage. So any tool that is a usage-based payment tool, then you should have a close eye on it, and you should know what you need to do with it and where you have risks. Share those risks with the rest of the team so that when they decide what they want to do with their tools, they keep an eye out also for the expense side. Otherwise, you get into some nasty surprises, or you'll get into situations like this where you're overpaying for something that you didn't need to overpay. Luckily this company could afford it, because obviously for 10,000, for 1,000, if you can afford 1,000 people, you can afford 10K a month for tools. But this is such a waste, and I see this happen all the time, that I just wanted to share this with you guys so that you don't make those mistakes and you continue to grow your business. Thanks for watching. See you next time.